Yo, Mimo, Mickey Blue, Joey Zaza. Here's to a little bit of Little Italy on your table. Salute. Hey, welcome to Johnny Gio's, home of that pizza guy. We're serving up some of Little Italy's best recipes, where pizza is always the hero and tasty comes way too easy. Yo, if you like your pizzas thin, crispy and loaded, and your pastas saucy, then you know who to see. And remember, when you're eating with us, you're joining the family table.
Hey guys, my name is Jono. I'm a photographer and filmmaker based in Sydney, Australia. A few of you guys in the community have recently been asking us for more of a detailed breakdown on how we actually run the creative aspect of our filming. And so today in this video, I thought I'd take the chance to give you guys a really detailed breakdown of a commercial that we shot for a pizza franchise. And so in this video, we're gonna break down the 3 stages that we typically go through when producing our videos. So we have pre-production, production, and then post-production. Now this video is not going to be like a Pizza Hut or a Domino's ad. We didn't have a budget of $500,000 and a whole week to produce this, but I think that this project is a great example of what you can produce from just one day of shooting for a local business working with a limited budget, which is kind of the realm that a lot of us in this community are working with. The biggest learning that I want you guys to take away from this video is more so the level of intention and planning that actually goes into before you pick up the camera. Because the biggest mistake that I see a lot of beginner filmmakers make, including us when we first started, is they'll do no planning whatsoever before the shoot and they'll rock up with their camera and hope to get the best shots that they can. Oftentimes the shots don't turn out the best and they use a lot of fancy quick transitions to try and cover it up and spice up the edit. So no matter what skill level you are at right now or whatever equipment that you use, I hope that this video will give you some good insights into how to add that level of intention and planning into your production process so that you can take your videos up to the next level. So step 1 in our process is pre-production. I would argue this is perhaps the most important step of the whole process, and it's oftentimes the one most neglected by beginners. So we use an application called Milanote to do our pre-production because we just really like how you're able to visually lay out things in a very logical manner, but you can also just use a Word doc on Google Drive. So the first stage of pre-production is actually to come up with our brief. We need to have a think about what sort of problems the client is facing and how we're actually going to use videos to solve those problems. So for example, this particular project, the client kind of had 3 main objectives. Number 1 was they wanted to increase their awareness on social media. So having a really engaging short video that they could then run ads against and attract eyeballs onto their brand through social media was extremely valuable for them. Number 2 was they wanted to create a marketing asset that really encapsulated the values and the culture behind the brand. What they were going for was kind of like a Little Italy, New York mafia sort of vibe. When a customer interacts with their brand online or walks into the store, they want them to have fun and feel like they've just come into part of a family. Number 3 was they wanted to increase engagement on their shop fronts. So each one of their stores had a vertical screen at the very front where they could play a video. With those 3 primary objectives in mind, we can now start writing up a bit of a short brief that we include in one section of our Milanote board. And having these objectives in mind, the next thing we typically think about is sort of the target audience. Who is the ideal person that we want to attract with this video? Because most of the stores for this client were based in the eastern suburbs and inner west of Sydney, which is like kind of closer to the city and to the beaches, the target audience was more of a younger demographic. And so this was kind of really kept at the front and center of our mind whenever we create a video. So once we have a bit of a clearer idea of the brief and the objectives we're trying to achieve with the video, we then go ahead and develop our video concept. So for this project, we opted to do a 30-second commercial that was going to be short and engaging. That way, when people are scrolling through social media or going past their shop front and watching the video is really going to help pique their interest and draw them towards the brand. Once we finalize the video concept, what we typically do is then look for 2 to 3 reference videos. Finding good reference videos is such a critical step because it essentially sets the standard for what you want to achieve with your end product. So bearing this in mind, I would highly recommend picking reference videos that are well above your skill level, because by trying to reach a higher level of production, you're gonna end up with an end product that's gonna be much better than you would have otherwise been able to achieve. So for this particular project, we actually had a few. We had a Pizza Hut commercial, a Domino's commercial, but we really liked this one from Barilla, which featured Roger Federer. And in this commercial, Roger Federer is having sort of like a playful competition with another chef. as they're preparing pasta. We liked how the commercial was fun, fast-paced, really showcased the high quality ingredients and cooking process, and most importantly, had a bit of a storyline. And so we decided to adopt a similar concept in our video. So based on this, we kind of drew up a bit of a storyboard based on two chefs. They were preparing ingredients in the restaurant. They look at each other and then all of a sudden they have a bit of a playful contest as to who can prepare the best pizza and pasta. Next, we then wrote up a fun voiceover to go along with the video. For this project, it was relatively straightforward. We mainly just took the copy from the client's website and just added in a few funny references at the start to New York Mafia mobsters, just to give it that sort of New York Mafia vibe. Another quick little bonus tip is to try choose your music before your shoot, because the music really sets the vibe of your commercial. Because we were going for sort of Little Italy vibes, that was kind of the music style that we went for. So if you can find songs that really match your vibe and the storyline you're trying to go for, this will really help take your video up to the next level. The final thing that we do in our pre-production process is then prepare a shot list and a shoot schedule. A bonus of finding really good reference videos is you can then leverage that to create your shot list. So what we usually do is we open up the reference video and we take screen grabs of specific frames that we really like and paste them onto a separate Millernote board for our shot list. This just gives us a really good visual representation of what we're trying to go for. The shot list is super important when it comes to the shoot day, because on a shoot day there are so many things going on and it's very easy to feel lost and confused. And so when that happens, just having that document with a visual representation of what you actually need to do is just super helpful. Finally, the last part of the pre-production process is to finalize the schedule. And usually that also includes the location, talent, and the props that you want to use. So in terms of the location for this project, we were just filming at one of the client's stores, and they had also arranged 2 staff members, which were chefs, to be in the video. So that was really good for us. And in terms of props, it was mainly just the ingredients that were used in the cooking, and we used some extra vegetables and things just to decorate the sides. For the schedule, we blocked out a full day to shoot this commercial. The great thing about this shoot was that the client was able to shut down the restaurant for the entire morning and afternoon block for us to film this commercial, which made it so much easier. It's so much harder filming something when the client's trying to service customers as you're filming. So I would highly recommend this if you can. If not, then just try to pick a time to shoot where it's the most quiet and there's not as many customers coming in. So now the pre-production is done. As I mentioned before, this is the most important bit, and as you can see, after going through this process, we already have a pretty good idea of what we want to create before we even get to the shoot, which is something that a lot of beginner filmmakers don't do. So step 2 is now the actual production. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play the video and then just talk you guys through what happened on the shoot day and how we managed to create each shot.
Yo, Mimo, Mickey Blue, Joey Zaza. Here's to a little.
So for this shot, we essentially used a 2-light sort of setup. We used one of our lights to key light his face from the very left, and then a light at the back, just to give that head a bit of an outline from the background. What you'll also notice is we turned off all the lights in the restaurant and just used our own lights. And that was what really helped us create sort of this really nice commercial look to the video.
Literally on your table. So
for this shot, we had to move the light on the left across a little bit, otherwise it'd be in the shot. And then we also used a sort of like a pavo tube light to light up the sign at the back, which was the client's brand. So that really just helped sort of add more depth to the image and also really showcase the brand, which is what we wanted to do.
Hey, welcome to Johnny Gio's, home of that pizza guy.
As you'll notice, the props that we used, so like the oil, the cheese, and all the ingredients here were all intentional because it just really adds more life to the video. And so these are the little things that you need to think about when you want to try to take your videos up to the next level.
Serving up some of Little Italy's best recipes.
A mixture of detailed shots of the actual ingredients, but also incorporating shots of the actual staff having fun, because as I mentioned, this video was not just about the quality of the food, but it's also showcase the staff and how they have fun doing what they love doing.
Where pizza is always the hero and tasty comes way too easy. Oh, If you like your pizzas thin, crispy and loaded, and your pastas saucy, then you know who.
So we really showcased the pizza, and then we just really wanted to highlight some other dishes, and we thought some slow motion shots of some pasta getting tossed in a pan would look really nice. So that's what we got the chef to do. For these shots, we actually filmed these in 100 frames per second because we were intending to slow them down. But for most of the other shots throughout the day, we mainly filmed at 25 frames because we knew we weren't going to slow down those shots.
To see. And remember, when you're eating with us, you're joining the family table.
So you can see the video is kind of separated into 3 main stages. We didn't need all these boxes in the shot, but we put them in because it's to add as much branding and life to the scene as possible. And so a big part of the production day is not just shooting what you see in front of you, but also just paying attention to what the overall scene looks like and creating a world that you want to invite the viewer into. And that's really a big difference between beginners and people who are a bit more experienced. And then we just got a few final shots of the dishes sort of like in their final state, or their final, how they're presented. What I really liked here was how we styled it. So we included some fresh basil leaves, some mushrooms, chilies, tomatoes. This added some really nice color around the dish with the client's branding underneath, and also kind of this old picture frame that really just reflected the vibes we were going for, which is sort of that little Italy, close-knit family vibe. And then we end on the final shot, which was in front of the restaurant and a car passing by and finishing the video. The reason why we put the final shot of the restaurant is after showcasing sort of what the inside of the kitchen looks like and the food, we wanted to bring the viewer outside onto the street to kind of give them a representation of what the restaurant would look like if they were walking past along the street and they saw the brand. So that's kind of how we produced the video. It's mainly separated into those 2 main blocks, and then just focusing on the pizza shots in the morning, and then more of the prep shots and the storyline based shots in the afternoon. And then stage 3 is post-production. And so in terms of post-production, this was essentially a 5-step process. And when you do the pre-production and the production properly, this should actually be the easiest step. Now, if you're interested in watching our entire editing workflow, we've actually made a separate video on this, which I'll link in the description box down below. So step 1 in our post-production process is to actually form the story. So what that involves is we import all the footage from our shoot day into our editing file, and then we start cutting up the best shots and forming the storyline. Next, we then add the music that we selected in our pre-production process and start adjusting the clips to match the pacing of the song. We then inserted the voiceover, which really adds that finishing touch to the whole story. The next 2 steps is essentially kind of just to add that finishing touch to the video. And so those 2 steps are your color grade, and then finally your sound design. For this particular project, sound design was a really important aspect because little things like when the bell rings and the chef turns his head, or picking up the knives and chopping the ingredients, that really just helps engage the viewer, especially for a really short 30-second commercial like this. So there you have it, guys, a detailed breakdown of how we ran the creative process for this particular project. I hope you guys found it useful. And one thing to bear in mind is that I know that we used quite a bit of gear for this project. We had 3 lights, a cinema camera, and an easy rig. And I know that most beginners are not going to be able to have that much gear to produce their videos. But the biggest takeaway that I want you guys to take from this video, and I mentioned it at the start, was sort of more the level of intention and planning that goes into the pre-production stage. That stage is so important, and even as a beginner, if you're working with natural light and minimal gear, if you really put a heavy emphasis on that pre-production process where you get your brief down properly, you develop your video concept, you find really good reference videos that you can then base a shot list off and a proper shoot schedule, then your videos are gonna go up to another level, even if you're just a beginner. And so anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you found it valuable, make sure to give it a like and subscribe. On this channel, we upload videos about filmmaking, self-development, and business. If you're also interested, we have an email newsletter, link in the description box down below, where we share more tips and tricks throughout our journey. And if you ever have any questions or just want to catch up for a Zoom call or a coffee, just email us at jonoandjason@gmail.com. That's it from me, guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.